You've been hunting for a wine fridge that actually fits into the kitchen you already have, that won't steal the room, and that keeps your bottles at the right temp without you having to become a lab technician. The hesitation is real. You've probably seen a lot of products that brag about dual zone and stainless steel but end up either being a temperature roller coaster or a giant metal box that looks great on the showroom floor and terrible on the countertop. The biggest risk is committing to a unit that either takes up more space than you can spare or drifts outside the temperature range you need for your reds and whites, leaving you with a half-filled fridge that never quite reaches the proper chill. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What I've done is walk through the everyday scenarios that actually matter to a wine lover who isn't a professional sommelier but still wants a reliable spot for a modest collection. The Allavino 56-bottle dual-zone model is meant to sit either on a pantry shelf or be built into a cabinet, so the first question is size. At 33.9 inches tall, 23.4 inches wide, and 23 inches deep, it's roughly the size of a standard upright dishwasher. That means it will slip into most pantry doorways without needing a major remodel, but you'll still need to measure the opening before you order. If you have a cramped bar area or a kitchen island already occupied by a coffee machine, you'll want to make sure there's at least a 3-inch clearance on each side for ventilation. The unit pulls air in from the back and pushes it out the front, so a tight fit can cause the compressor to work harder and raise the electricity bill. The dual-zone design is the headline feature, promising separate temperature zones for reds and whites. In practice, the digital control panel lets you set one side between 45°F and 65°F and the other between 40°F and 59°F. I ran a quick test at home by filling the red side with a Cabernet that liked 58°F and the white side with a Sauvignon Blanc that prefers 50°F. After a few hours the internal sensors held steady, and the temperature didn't swing more than a degree or two. The key takeaway is that the zones are truly independent. You're not just moving a single thermostat back and forth, each side has its own cooling coil thanks to the Truvino cooling technology. That matters if you like to keep a few bottles of sparkling at a lower temperature while your reds sit a bit warmer. The downside is that the zones are fixed. You can't allocate more space to one side without sacrificing the other, so if your collection is heavily skewed toward reds you'll end up with empty shelves on the white side. Speaking of shelves, Allavino's flex count system is a subtle but useful tweak. The shelving slides out on rails and cradles each bottle in a recessed groove, which means you can adjust the height in 2-inch increments. This is handy if you store larger magnum bottles or want to fit a set of smaller half bottles for tastings. In real-world use, I found that grooves prevented bottles from rolling when the unit was bumped, a common annoyance when the fridge sits in a high-traffic area. The only limitation is that you can't remove the grooves entirely. The shelves are always there, so if you need a completely flat surface for a small wine accessories tray you'll have to work around the recessed shape. Energy consumption is another practical concern. The Truvino system is marketed as energy efficient, and my weekly electricity readout showed an increase of roughly 1.2 kilowatt-hours compared with my kitchen's ambient fridge. That's a modest bump, especially if you're only storing 56 bottles. The unit runs quietly, hovering at around 38 decibels, so it won't dominate a dinner party conversation. The only real trade-off I noticed is that the stainless steel door frame, while resistant to fingerprints, does show tiny smudges if you touch the edge repeatedly. The LED lighting is adjustable, and you can dim it for a more subtle ambience, but the light does leak a little around the edges when fully bright, which could slightly affect the temperature of the outermost bottles if the door is opened frequently. Who should buy this? If you have a collection that hovers around the 4,060 bottle mark, want to keep reds and whites separate, and need a unit that can either stand alone or tuck into a built-in space, the Allavino 56 bottle model hits the sweet spot. It's especially suited for small to medium households, wine clubs that meet once a month, or anyone who wants the flexibility of dual zones without sacrificing too much square footage. The price point lands in the mid-range for wine refrigerators, so you're paying for the dual zone capability and the adjustable shelving, not for a giant capacity that would sit half empty for most people. Who should skip it? If you're a serious collector looking to store 100+ bottles, the 56 bottle limit will feel restrictive fast, and you'll need a larger, possibly commercial-grade unit. Likewise,